It's a great day to be a Saint. Got our paws on some sophisticated technology. Practiced a little saint-like behavior. We came and went the distance toward discovery. Preparing to join the ranks of the saints before us. We're a school with heart, in pursuit of greater inspiration that connects us forever.
Hey, rugby fans, rugby is everywhere. The giant is awakening, and Rugby Wrap-Up is there with the alarm clock. Rugby Wrap-Up, global rugby coverage, sometimes with a wink. Weekly studio shows, daily website content, breaking news, evolving stories, the biggest names in the game on camera, all over social media. Pundits from all corners of the planet, local, global, professional, amateur, female, and male. Find it all on rugbywrapup.com.
I'm working at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo, and this area called Ginza, so which is center of Tokyo.
For the National Small College Rugby Organization NSCRO Championships, live on NSCRO's YouTube channel and the Next Level Rugby YouTube channel. I'm Matt McCarthy with two-time USA Rugby Coach of the Year and Collegiate All-American Sevens coach Steve Lewis, and Brett Anker, our man on the field, our correspondent on the pitch, for this semi-final Challenge Cup match between Washington and Lee University's Screaming Minks and Minnesota State University Moorhead's Wiener Cats. Steve, we're just about set for our kickoff, and it's a crisp, cool morning, but there's no rain.
It is bright and breezy, quite a strong wind. Temperatures down in the low 40s as we get going here.
And we are underway, and that looks like Ed Cali catching the kickoff. And now the gentlemen in blue and white are your hold on. Okay, yeah. So you got blue and white, and you've got red, gray, and black. Red, gray, and black are the Minnesota State Moorhead team. And in the blue and white, you've got Washington and Lee charging downfield. Steve, some points scored by one of these squads.
Yeah, Washington Lee have pretty much destroyed all opposition in front of them the last couple of rounds, posting over 80. So obviously got some offensive firepower. And we look forward to seeing some of that this morning.
All right. There's a little bit of sloppy play, but the Screaming Minks collecting the ball, charging forward. That looks like Grant Coakley smashing it into the defense. This is a field turf field, although we've had a ton of rain, there has been no effect. If we were playing on the grass pitch just adjacent to us, we would have had a problem. But we've dodged the bullet with rain so far, and there has been a ton of it in the region. So we've been lucky here at Siena College, just outside Albany, and there's our kick into touch. So, Steve, what's great about this is these small colleges get to come together and they get on a big stage. Like, this is a live stream. You can watch it all over the planet. But we don't really know a lot about the different teams and when they're coming together.
Yeah, I mean, so the small colleges, it's really student populations under 5,000. That's the point of this. You're not D1A, you're not those large Ohio State-type colleges. So, but essentially, sport is about a fair fight, right? It's about competition playing sides of a similar size. So this, as you say, is the championship weekend for NSCRO, National Small College Rugby Organization. This is the first semi-final in the Challenge Cup, which is the second-tier competition. And Washington and Lee, incidentally in the same conference as Christendom, who we saw last night, are coming out of the gates here. Very structured off rucks. If you look at the way they're lining up here, they're looking to pick and go. It looks 2, 3, 4 times before they tried anything else. They're having some success with that right now. So stick to it.
And that was off our first penalty. There's a referee. We can listen in and get his instruction as we go, which is always handy. But Washington and Lee, the Screaming Minks. Oh, and there's a knock-on and a turnover. Unfortunate as they were driving and putting phases together after that initial penalty. And here's a whistle. That's going to be a knock-on and a scrum down to the Wiener Cats.
First scrum of the day. Always interesting to see which side can perhaps exert some dominance in these most critical of set pieces. Not just in terms of possession, but also psychologically. Scrum is still very, very important.
So this will be Brandon Lean putting the ball in for Minnesota State. Moorhead. Checking him. It'll be Sam Lohman, I beg your pardon. Sam's brother Max is also on the squad. And both of them are studying business and Chinese.
Chinese business.
Some smart men right there. There's a charge off of the back of the scrum by the Screaming Minks.
It's somewhat distinctive, this sort of setting up in single file like this. And as I said, they're having some success, but not particularly hard to defend once you've seen it a couple of times.
Well, so far it's working out for them as they charge forward. There is Ben Soulier. The French pronunciation, as he says, because he's from New Orleans. And he follows the NOLA Gold on Instagram, the Major League Rugby frontrunners. There's a knock-on, or I think he actually held on to it. There's big number 15, Leka Apodaca from Oakland, the Tongan. And it is knocked on just short of the try line, Steve.
Yeah, just a little over-eager there, but excitable. Just taking a little more care, a little more patience with the ball. Held it another second, popped up. Perhaps he would have found a teammate with more receptive hands.
Receptive hands are important in these kinds of matches, especially at this level. When you get into the championships, you any little mistake could make or break a success. And here we go. Here is Lean. Tapping, putting it in. Going to look for an exit kick here. Up in the air, that was number 10, Joe Conrad. Doesn't find touch, but he's got a good chase from his wing. Right in there is Conrad. Some pushing and pulling, and the Screaming Minks hold on to the ball. And they're in that single file formation that you were talking about. There's a big hit. But moving forward, the Screaming Minks. Leka Apodaca gets it. He's got some room to ramble. And the Tongan finally brought to turf. Sam Lauman directing his troops. There's Soulier. Soulier's a long lad. Senior, studying European communications or something along those lines, Steve. Check that. Here's number 2, the hooker, Tiernan Hannes, rambling forward, just off of brain surgery and playing hooker. Makes sense. They are a rare breed indeed, the hookers. But in the meantime, the Screaming Minx trying to draw first blood. Minnesota State trying to defend. And it's a knock on again, just inches from the try line, Steve.
Yeah, as we said before, just a little bit of patience here, a little composure. I mean, they're getting that white line fever or yellow line fever in this case. And just getting a little excitable. And sure, you need to play with urgency and you need to play with pace, but sometimes a little bit of care, a little bit of composure will serve you better.
Wise words indeed. And, you know, you've got to keep in mind, these are college guys. You know, some of them are playing for a little bit of time. A lot of them are just being introduced to the game in college. So there's a learning process. And part of that learning process, other than fundamentals and skills in the game, are the mental aspects.
Yeah, something of a contrast there when you look at these two sides. You know, speaking to the Minnesota State Moorhead coach Cody Krautkramer before the game, and he said, you know, a good percentage of his team picked up the ball in September. They're a very young team, so this is going to be a good experience for them either way. You're either winning or learning, right? Hopefully both, but they're a young team.
All right, here's a scrum down to the Screaming Minx of Washington and Lee, out of Lexington, Virginia. Just in case you're wondering, our friends up in the front row for the Screaming Minx have swapped jerseys. So 1 and 3 have switched. So you've got Grant Coakley wearing number 3. I beg your pardon. You've got Nolan Durfee wearing number 3, but he is playing loosehead. And Grant Coakley is wearing number 1, playing tight head. Just to see if you're paying attention at home. In the meantime, the Wiener Cats with a staunch defense right now, fighting off the Screaming Minx.
Release the ball. Release the ball.
You're hearing the referee instruct them to release the ball. And there's a burst up the middle. Can it be our first try? Ed Cali trying, not getting there. But there's the big fella, the tight head, and that looks like Grant Coakley in for the try. High fives all around, and we have our first try for Washington and Lee's Screaming Minx in this semifinal Challenge Cup match, Steve.
Yes, indeed, the perfect distance for a prop. Loosehead or tight head.
Here's the replay that sets up the try. That's number 7, Ed Cali, taking it to turf. You can see the gentleman right out of the back there, right up the gut. Grant Coakley, well done. And there's the sign. Okay, so we've got our first conversion attempt. We had some up and down experiences last night, if you were tuning in, with the kicking of some of these schools. Some was impeccable, some not so impeccable.
Yeah, I'd make a distinction there. I mean, I thought the goal kicking was reasonable for the most part. It was pretty good. I thought just some of the kicking from hand, some of the punting and decision-making left something to be desired. But that one's good, and the extra points are added for a 7-0 lead after 11 minutes here for Washington and Lee.
Well, I'm going to have to question you on that assessment of the kicking, specifically in the last match that we watched, where we had locks and props and perhaps fans from the stands kicking.
But again, distinction between a goal kicking and a kicking from hand.
Well, Their goal kicking wasn't the greatest either, and I'm not going to name names. But anyway, there's the restart. Taken by the Screaming Minks as they charge up the field in blue. In the red, gray, and black are the Minnesota State Minnesota State Moorhead Wiener Cats. Easy for me to say. But if you're just joining us, we are here for this NSCRO, National Small College Rugby Organization Championship weekend here at Siena College. Hickey Field, to be specific, in the Albany area, Albany, New York, the capital region, as they call it. And the blue and white colored Screaming Minks with a little kick into space, but fielded nicely by the Wiener Cats on counterattack. They are trailing 7-0, trying to get on the scoreboard themselves. Trey Maffness takes it into contact, and there's a knock-on and a whistle. Not yet a whistle. He's going to play the advantage first. That was the knock-on by Gerald Capello. Here comes the Tongan, racing forward. He gets a nice pass off to number 12, Harry McBride. Poli-sci major out of Spartansburg, South Carolina, Harry McBride.
Good, 12. Thank you, 12.
Off the base of the scrum.
No hands, you're on the ground.
There's Lohman with a skip pass that's not handled, and it's going to be a turnover on the knock-on as a result. And the Minks turn the ball over to the Wiener Cats.
Yep, that halfback connection, 9-10 for Washington Lee, not quite clicking yet. They've had a couple of misfires 2 or 3 times now. Need to sort that out so they can get some sort of rhythm and tempo to their play.
So the scrum half is Sam Lohman. His brother Max Lohman is on the bench. Their dad is from the Netherlands, and they've both been playing rugby since about 6th and 5th grade, respectively. Both majoring, as we mentioned earlier, in Chinese and business. So they are a fine example of the international global experience that rugby is. There's a mispass or a tipped pass out of the base of the scrum, and it's going to be a knock-on. Instead, it's a knock-on just by the Wiener Cats, and it's going to be Screaming Minks ball. And you gotta love the 2 nicknames of these teams.
Screaming Minks, I sort of understand. Wiener Cat, no idea what a Wiener Cat is.
Well, I think that, I heard some of the parents throwing around like a wiener dog is a small dog, but it's got some fight in it or something along those lines. I don't know who was telling me what was accurate. I think there were some prevarications going on, Steve, frankly. But it is indeed the Wiener Cats.
Fine.
Lohman taps, puts it in. Gets it out. A mishandle by Vince Legsing. But they maintain the possession. Rambling down the field again is Leka Apadaka out of Fremont High School in Oakland.
Hold the space. Stay.
There's a little pass back inside, but a big hit by number 3.
Judon Masumbuko.
Thank you, Stephen.
Good French first name, God-given.
Out of the way.
Capello with the tackle
Good job. Good
for the
job.
Wiener Cats. There's number 5, Lucas Campbell, rambling forward. There's number 3, the loose head, Nolan Durfee. Nolan Durfee woke up yesterday morning in Germany.
That was lost forward by 6 in the tackle.
And he has to fly back on Monday, studying abroad. And he's an interesting story. He's a double major in biochemistry and European history with a minor in German. Just your typical loose head prop, right? Large man, blonde, studying German, biochemistry, you name it. He's going to fix my tailpipe after this as well. Here's the put in by Lean.
Yeah, one against the head. Washington Lee have the ball.
Oh, and it's pilched. Nicely done by the blind side. That's Jack Christensen. And there's a whistle.
Yeah, interesting conundrum here for John Welsh, head coach of Washington Lee. I mean, they're obviously having quite a bit of success with their pick and go, very sort of vertical attack. Anytime they move it wide, not quite the accuracy. As we've said before, 9-10 hinge not quite connecting yet. So do they revert to what is working? Or do they keep trying to alternate?
I beg your pardon, that earlier call I said I gave the wrong name. That was Spencer Alacio, the number 8 that had made that carry. But in the meantime, it was turned over. And here are the Wiener Cats. Oh, and a big hit and a turnover and a try. Wow. Huge hit resulting in the turnover and the try, Steve, for the Screaming Minx. And just like that, it's 12-0 pending the conversion. Here's the replay. You can see the hit. That's number 15, Leka Apodaca, leveling his opposition. Number 13, Jacob Toft.
And then the ball bounced nicely up there for Harry McBride to pounce, and over he went for 5. From a tactical perspective, really, Minnesota there, I think an ill-advised decision. They're moving the ball laterally across their own goal line. We've talked before, if you want to exit successfully, it needs to either be a good, strong set piece, a clearance kick, or a hard carry up the middle, getting you some yardage. They went laterally, they went side to side, and unfortunately led to their demise.
Here's Kyle Hallman, the junior classics major, whose friend talked him into playing. Lining up his second conversion.
It's not unusual
to be a classics major. And he splits the uprights. He is 2 for 2 for conversions, Mr. Holman. And we have, with just about 20 minutes, our first quarter gone by, a 14-0 lead in favor of the Screaming Minx of Washington and Lee out of Lexington, Virginia. And their opponents, the Wiener Cats of Minnesota State Moorhead, need some points as they kick the restart. Here's Joe Conrad with the kick. Not the highest of kicks, fielded on a hop by the Screaming Minx. There's the big loose head. Durfee bursting forward. Driving into contact. Lucas Campbell. There's a big stick from the defense of the Wiener Cats. There's Lohman with another bounce pass. A couple of skips, a couple of fakes. And it finds the capable hands of Leka Apodaca.
No hands now.
Lohman off the base of the breakdown, going nowhere,
Keep that space.
but maintaining possession. There's Ben Soulier.
Red, give red.
There's a bounce pass again. A lot of bounce passes, Stephen. But here's a big run and taken down, though. Nice tackle
That's fair contest.
by
Lay on.
Minnesota State. And they turn it over. The Wiener Cats
Tackle.
poach possession and ramming forward. Oh, and there's a struggle for the ball, but held on nicely by Tanner Motley. Tanner Molitor, I beg your pardon.
This is certainly a better passage of play from Minnesota State here. Third, fourth phase. Some good carries by some of the tight forwards. And they get a penalty for a high tackle, it looks like. Just inside We're about 5 yards inside Washington Lee half. Decisions needing to be made. Looks like they're going short tap and running it.
That might lead one to believe that they're not exactly confident in their kicker going for touch.
Another good carry there from Tanner Molitor. He's just shown up nicely in the last 2 minutes of play. 2 strong carries. Good yardage he's got for them.
Nasambuko following it as well. Here's Coakley. Coakley, who scored a try earlier. Here's a little pitch out to the backs. They've got some room. Some nice moves from the Screaming Minx back line. Lohman with a fend, trying to get something on the short side. And there's a whistle. And brought into touch, it looks like, and a clap of approval by the Minnesota defense. But there's going to be a conversation here because the referee wants to speak to the red captain.
Okay, thank you.
And it's just to find out if they want the line out or not. Here's the replay.
So I'm in the center. How many? Guys?
Lots going on. It's going to be the turnover. Yep, there it is. Well done by Capello. Here we are back to live action. Minnesota State Moorhead in the red, gray, and black. Washington and Lee in the blue and white. They put the ball up in the air. Taken nicely. And a counterattack by Skylar Angeles.
Lost it now. No road, no blue. You lost it. There you
And
go.
it's been turned over. And a big bruising run from Nate Havlaka.
Back to the setback.
Oh, big hit. And possibly a knock on. Yeah, that's going to be Jeremy Puff not being able to control the ball, and it goes into touch, so it'll be a line out to the Screaming Minx.
Okay. Scrum. Blue. Knock on into touch.
As you heard, the knock on into touch. There's the mark for the front rows to set by.
It makes it a little easier. Oh, well, yeah, that part's not so much fun. Yeah.
Little conversation with the referee in the front rows.
Crouch.
About 25 minutes gone by in this semifinal Challenge Cup match of the Enscrow Championships as Lohman puts it in for Washington and Lee. There's a switch back into the fullback, Leka Apodaca. He crashes in. Now we've got some room outside. There's some numbers, but it's broken up nicely by the defense of the Wiener Cats, but they fumble it away, and it's going to be a knock-on. Or no call yet. Might have gone backward. Picked up anyway, at any rate, by the Screaming Minx, who now charge down the far side. Into some open space, one man to beat, and it's a try for Tiernan Hannes. Let's see if he stepped into touch, and there is a flag up. Yep, no try.
Good. Yeah, nothing quick. All right. Center. Blue, you're here.
All right, so that was a big run into the open by Tiernan Hannes, but unfortunately his foot found the touchline, and it's going to be a line out to the Wiener Cats, and it may have been turned over, and it has been, even on a short line out, Steve.
Yes, indeed. Lineouts are a bit of a lottery here. Neither side able to guarantee themselves possession.
Durfee picks it up. He's driven back, but presents it in that single file formation once again.
Tackle.
The
No.
attack.
That's fine. That's strip
And it's turned over. A strip tackle. Nicely done by the Wiener Cats. They've got some room on the outside. Quickly, blue shirts in defense coming over. There's Apodaca with a bruising tackle. Throws his opposition to the turf. Wiener Cats maintaining possession. They need some offense. They need an exit strategy right now. There's a nice big run by number 5, Capello. But it's turned over. There's Soulier taking it for the Screaming Minx. Lohman looking for some space. Alacio tosses it back on a hop. They're going backwards, but they're maintaining possession, are Washington and Lee. And they're maintaining their 14-0 lead as of now over Minnesota State Moorhead. Alacio and Nate Hovaka going at it, but the ball goes out to the back line. Here's Apodaca.
Tackle release. Hands out. Still in. Still in.
There's Hannes,
Gooey
the
shot.
hooker, barging forward.
Advantage.
Sophomore out of Washington, D.C.
Offside 3, red. Advantage.
There's another big run. So far, the engine room has been doing the work for the Screaming Minks, but the backs are now chipping in. There's number 12, Harry McBride. See, that single file formation is seemingly working so far.
Advantage over.
Oh, and there's a big run from number 7, Ed Cali, picking it up off the back of the breakdown and charging forward for a try unscathed.
Yeah, just back to that single formation here, and something perhaps Minnesota, here we are, breaks up. That's individual play there, just good athleticism. Changes his angle, good footwork for a flanker. Goes left, goes right, mazy run. One for the highlight reel.
Yeah, he did that east-west and then north-south pretty easily for a big fella.
Yeah, I'm on your mark.
Let's see if we can get 3 for 3 on conversions. This looks like it's Kyle Holman again. Very precise with getting that ball on that tee, Steve.
He's got his own personal juju there.
These conversion kickers are often quirky, aren't they?
Yeah, indeed.
Conversion kickers and hookers. But it works, and he drills it. You know, we've seen various styles of approaches to the ball, some longer, some shorter. He was pretty direct once he set it up on that tee. Drilled it for his third conversion, and as a result, his team has a 21-0 lead. That is the Washington and Lee Screaming Minks leading the Minnesota State Moorhead Wiener Cats 21-0 with about 30 minutes gone in this first half. Our first of 2 matches today. There's a short kick by Conrad.
Sorry about that.
And a big counterattack. Once again, right in the middle of it.
It's still in. That's still in. No, get back.
Here's another run. The back line now up and stripped. Another strip tackle and a turnover. Well done by the Wiener Cats defense. Simi Moala.
Looks like he's on the field, number 8. Early substitution or replacement for Washington Lee.
Yeah, guys, hold up a sec. I have a shoe.
He's a Tongan. He's got rugby coursing through his veins. Spoke to him earlier. He's a big lad. And he could be a dominant force coming off the bench. Not sure if that was an injury or strategic. But when you got a guy like that coming off the bench and you're already
Crouch.
watching his team lead you 21-0, that can't be fun.
Set.
Sort of a C.J. Stander approach to number 8, grabbing and coming in there. And right off the back of the scrum, here comes
Bring it
the
down,
Screaming
16.
Mick,
Bring it
the
down.
Wiener Cats, I beg your pardon. Driving forward, the big number 8,
Now it's a tackle.
Fredrickson. They need something to happen now. Here comes Molitor. He takes it to the ground. And it's going to be a penalty.
I know you were trying. I know.
not rolling away. Referee says you were trying, but still calls the penalty.
Was two ever onside?
There's Masumbuku.
Advantage.
They're playing the advantage. Here's another penalty. There's Conrad.
Make sure you keep my mark, okay, Sarah?
And another whistle.
Two offside. No, Mark is here. Mark is here. Mark is here.
Okay, a couple of penalties in a row. There's the tap. Masumbuko crashes into the defense of Durfee. There's a sloppy play, maybe a deliberate knock-on.
No, accidentally off the referee. It's sort of first sustained pressure Minnesota have had in the Washington Lee 22. And unfortunately for them, their referee in the passing channel, which will result in a scrum to Minnesota.
Yep, there it is. You were right on the money, Steve. It just got the shoulder blade of the referee trying to duck out of the way. That could be a penalty try. Should rewrite the books. Then you'd have players throwing the ball at the referee all game long. That wouldn't work, would it? All right, here's the tap in by Lean. But it's turned over and out of the base of the scrum. Here comes the big fella off the bench, Simi Moala.
That was lost forward by 16.
And knocked on by Moala. His eyes are opening up too wide, maybe a little eager. But another opportunity for Minnesota State Moorhead to get back into this match before the half.
Yeah, but they've had a few problems here with their set piece with the scrum. They're going back. They lost the last one against the Heads, probably 2 or 3 so far. Let's see what they can do here. Just need good, steady ball. Just need to hold it stable. They're under pressure, but they do clear the ball.
All right, there's Conrad holding the ball. Toft gets it out. Larson going backwards. There's Conrad, thrown to the turf again.
Counter is good.
And it's turned over. And whose ball is it? It's going to be a knock-on and awarded back to the Wiener Cats of Minnesota State Moorhead.
No, it's there. 6 lost it forward.
There you have it. The instruction.
There's 6 lost it forward.
Jack Christensen lost it forward.
They keep making me repeat it. I keep having to say your number. I'm sorry.
The referee apologizing for having to keep saying the number.
You make one mistake. One mistake.
One mistake, and it's repeated 3-4 times. So it's only one mistake. It wasn't 3 or 4 mistakes for the folks at home that are wondering. The Christensen family.
Fine. Set.
Here's Lean. And that big drive backwards, but they do maintain the ball, do the Wiener Cats, and they've got some room outside. There's number 13, Toft. He's taken to the ground, and it's turned over. And here come the Screaming Minks back on the front foot.
7 move.
Lohman.
7 move. Thank you, 7. Stay back.
There's
Red.
again that
Good.
single attack, that single formation attack. There's Coakley. He's got a try. Soulier from New Orleans charging forward, still on his feet. Presenting.
Give me that step.
There's another try scorer, Ed Calley, driven back nicely on defense from Minnesota State. So some big hitting still going on in there. There's Apodaca.
Tackle! Tackle!
I beg your pardon, Moala. Coakley. And he is stripped of the ball, but it looks like it went backwards, and they'll maintain possession. And it's a penalty.
Wrong side. Leave him.
Oh, there's Moala off the quick pickup, the quick tap, taking it forward off the penalty.
Back foot. All of you, move back.
And it looks like it's turned over by the Wiener Cats. Well done on defense.
Nope.
Facing their own, defending their try line again. Masumbuko.
Lost it. Liko, yep.
And it's been turned over yet again. Oh, but it's a penalty. This is a lot of back and forth, Steve.
Yeah, I was going to wait till halftime here, but there you saw the first successful counter ruck from Minnesota State, and I think Washington Lee are vulnerable to that. They take their time setting up with that vertical alignment, and what you're looking for to break down for a counter ruck, you're looking either at a physical mismatch or you're looking at poor body position when the player over the ball is perhaps too upright. So I think they've been there for the taking, and Minnesota State should be more aggressive in the counter ruck, try and stop the possession at source. Another good carry there from Molitor, though. He's coming into a game here, number 4 for Minnesota State.
Charge, everybody on.
Unfortunately, his backs have just done exactly what he didn't want to happen.
Conrad with an ill-advised choice there, Steve. And now counterattack. But, some good defense.
Penalty.
And as
Intentional knock 11.
Oh,
Penalty.
boy.
Back 10.
intentional knock 11, but no card.
Yep, let's have another look.
Here's Moala, and there is that knock. That's definitely...
That's yellow card material
Sure.
right there. It's clearly one hand, not attempting to play the ball.
And you heard the referee say intentional knock.
Very fortunate to escape there without further sanction.
So we sanction the non-sanctioner.
Red, you're marking. Blue, you're over here.
Yeah, people can't hear you shaking your head. So that's a yes. It's Steve Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive player these days, you have to make a legitimate effort for the ball. So that typically, if you're coaching someone, that means go for the ball with two hands. That was a swat down with his right hand, and that was a yellow card for me.
All right, there's Soulier
Stay
taking the
red,
line
stay,
out.
stay,
The New
stay.
Orleans native.
Advantage.
This team in blue and white from Lexington, Virginia. And there's Moala, who is off the bench and into the try-zone, just like that. The Tongan, Steve.
Yeah, he looks cut above as an athlete here on the field. He's come on, he's made an immediate impact. Plenty of yards every time he goes forward. Comfortable with the ball in hand. He's just looking there. Didn't set up nicely for him. Got a little separation on that first tackle. Acceleration. Powerful finish under the posts.
Yeah, he was fending off Jordan Head there and did well to get into the try-zone. Put his team up 26-0 pending this conversion.
So if you kick at 40 minutes and 1 second for a half.
Referee instructing Holman about the time situation. So Holman now tying the shoe to buy some time because this conversion kick will end the half.
Yeah, so you do have a limited amount of time to take the kick, and it's changed. It's now from the moment the try has been scored. So you can faff around tying your shoelaces, should you so choose, but you need to get that kick off within a certain period of time, or the referee can render it illegitimate and move on.
I've learned my lesson. I have gotten slip-on shoes now, Steve, because I've spent so much time faffing with my shoelaces. Here's Hallman. Looks at the clock, drills the conversion. He's perfect from the tee. And just like that, going into the shed, he's got his team on top, 28-0. That is the Lexington, Virginia, Washington and Lee University squad over Minnesota State, and we are going to commercial, but do not go away. We'll be right back shortly, folks.
It's a great day to be a Saint. Got our paws on some sophisticated technology. Practiced a little saint-like behavior. We came and went the distance toward discovery. Preparing to join the ranks of the saints before us. We're a school with heart, in pursuit of greater inspiration that connects us forever.
In our game, we play with our hearts. We don't play with sticks, bats, or gloves. We don't wear shoulder pads or helmets. We keep playing when it hurts. And we leave everything on the field. What we wear must be built for our game.
Hey, rugby fans, rugby is everywhere. The giant is awakening, and Rugby Wrap-Up is there with the alarm clock. Rugby Wrap-Up, global rugby coverage, sometimes with a wink. Weekly studio shows, daily website content, breaking news, evolving stories, the biggest names in the game on camera, all over social media. Pundits from all corners of the planet, local, global, professional, amateur, female, and male. Find it all on rugbywrapup.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Siena College, Hickey Field for the NSCRO, the National Small College Rugby Organization Championship Weekend. We are at halftime. Matt McCarthy, Steve Lewis. Steve, pretty solid performance so far from the team from Lexington, Virginia.
Yeah, Washington Lee, they've dominated up front, both at the scrum. The line-out's been a bit of a lottery, but particularly they've had a lot of success in short yardage pick and goes from the ruck. A couple of explosive athletes for me. Number 8, who's come on, Moala, and also the fullbacks had a good first 40, Apodaca. So they're worthy of their 28-point lead at this stage. Minnesota State, Moorhead, in my opinion, have to get more aggressive. They have to attack the ball at source. They really have to counter-ruck. They have to be a lot more. They have to challenge Washington Lee there. It's partly technique, it's partly desire. You've got to want to tackle. You've got to make the tackle stick.
Indeed. If you are the coaching staff of the Wiener Cats, the Minnesota State Moorhead Wiener Cats, you're down 28-0. You just want to maybe impress with that counter-rucking that you were talking about earlier?
The one thing to fix, they got to disrupt Washington Lee possession at source. It's that breakdown. That's where they're vulnerable. They're standing off. They're standing back waiting to make the tackle. And that's fine if you're sticking your tackles and you're making dominant tackles. They're not. What they have to do is every so often, every second or third time, they have to attack that breakdown. They have to throw bodies at it. They have to slow things down, change the tempo.
All right, and there's an interesting development there. There's Moala with the restart. He's taking kicking duties. He's the number 8 wearing number 16. And here come
We're back behind the line, so.
on attack. Here comes the Screaming Minx. Screaming Minx in the blue jerseys with the trident on some of the jerseys. That's the W and the L forming a trident. A very clever logo for the Screaming Minx and a great name.
That's fine, I guess.
And here's the big fella, Apodaca, rambling forward. I beg your pardon, Moala, rambling forward.
Good, thank you.
Out to the back line. Oh, and it could questionably be another knock-on intentionally, but nope. It's not going to be the case. Minnesota State Moorhead dodging a bullet earlier with an intentional knock-on, not resulting in a yellow, just a penalty. Here's that replay. Oh, he had it in his hand, so it was just...
that was a legitimate attempt at interception there. He was a wee bit unlucky. Field was open ahead of him, if he managed to hold on to it.
That was Jeremy Puff almost taking that one the length of the pitch, perhaps. But we'll never know as Lohman taps and puts it in. Sam Lohman. And here's downfield, big run. Simi Moala again. Moala with another try, Steve. He's made an impact off the bench, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. That was a straight pick from a scrum, about 30, 35 yards out. Looks like a man amongst boys out there.
Indeed. That's got to be discouraging if you are the Wiener Cats, watching that happen right out of the half. Big fella just taking it up the gut, pretty much unscathed. Here's a replay, right out of the back, picks it up, fends off some tacklers, charges forward.
Okay, so how do you fix that defensively? All right, so if you know he's coming, he's coming into that 10 channel, perhaps you move your number 8 or your best tackler, your flank, into 10 for the purposes of that scrum, and move your fly half into the pack. If you know he's coming, the train's coming down the road, you either get out of the way or you've got to stop it, right?
Absolutely.
You need to stop it. There's always a solution to the problem. They've just got to find it.
If you have the personnel, right? I mean, that's a talented player right there. And as you said, man amongst boys. And the conversion is good. So 35-0 with Hallman's conversion. He is perfect on those today. And we are looking at a tough hill to climb right now if you are the Wiener Cats from Minnesota State Moorhead. It's Conrad. Puts it up. The Screaming Minx taking the restart. Lohman digs it out. Oh, there's a nice run. That's Durfee. I beg your pardon. That's Hannes, Tiernan Hannes, the hooker. Nice move there and into the open from the centers. Here he is again, Hannes, banging his way forward. And this is a kid that just had brain surgery and has got a plate in his head, playing hooker.
Three, I need you back, okay?
And looking fine. There's Coakley. Another big drive.
We're okay,
potentially
okay.
a tip tackle, but no.
Okay. Yeah. 7.
There's Soulier being driven back, but he presents. Lohman digs it out. There's a little switch back inside.
Not held.
That's
Moala again.
Moala again, yeah.
We're good, guys.
And he gets it out to the other Tongan, Apodaca, who then pitches it to Hallman, who dots it down. Hallman adding to his point total today, number 14.
Yeah, it was good wingers finish in the corner there. We'll give him an opportunity to maintain his kicking record here. Once again, the initial breach up the middle by Moala, sucking in defenders. Ball comes back. Another angle on it there. This guy's an athlete, no question. Ball goes out to the right. Wasn't a particularly accurate pass, but it bounced up nicely for him. And he just had enough pace to fake inside, feint inside, I should say, and finish in the corner.
We've got some substitutions coming in. We'll try to get you those. As Hallman lines up his conversion for his own try.
Thank you.
Hey, they said the score's wrong.
Adjusting the scoreboard score. Was the conversion good? So Hallman puts his team up 40-0.
Give me a step.
I
Give
beg
me
your
a step
pardon,
right
it's
here in the front.
38-0. Sorry for the confusion. We've got some stuff going on here in the booth, but we are still with you, folks, we promise. As the Screaming Minks charge forward, but driven back nicely on defense by number 4, Tanner Molitor, with a big hit. He hasn't quit working. There it is into the hands of Jaden
Tackle now.
Madriaga.
Move back, Red.
Lohman tries to put it up, but it's charged down, but it caught, kicks it to himself in essence.
Give me a step.
Out of the base of the breakdown, that's number 7. He's had a big game.
Give me, guys. Give me a advantage.
Ed Cali. If you're just joining us in this Challenge Cup match, semifinal between
Advantage over.
the rambling, screaming Minks, who are in the open with the ball. That again was a big run.
Guys,
Here's Hallman, who's had himself a nice day.
back up. 8 back. 8 back. Advantage.
Crashing forward. Washington and Lee University in the blue and white. Here's Lohman looking for Hallman again. Stays in. Doesn't get driven into touch. Well done to do that. On their heels a bit
Give me a step
are the
back,
Wiener
Red.
Cats. Oh, and there's a nifty move. Some twinkle toes from the big fella.
Keep moving back, Red. Keep moving
Grant
back.
Coakley, the tight head prop.
Keep back. Get back.
And they are still working hard to get another try, even with their 38-0 lead. The Screaming Minks is Masumbuko on defense,
Red, keep moving.
but still maintained by Washington and Lee.
He was fine. I saw that.
Austin Lay charging forward. Here's Cali.
Move back. Get back. Get back. Keep moving. Good.
Little fend there, nicely done by Harry McBride. He's got a try earlier. Stepping in at scrum half
Out quick.
was Lucas Campbell.
Just moving up the field methodically here.
Back foot, right back foot.
It's good
back
patient rugby. Taking care of the ball, ball security, ball
Foot.
presentation.
Blue ball. Blue ball.
Nothing too
Hands
fancy,
away.
nothing too adventurous.
2 on the ground.
You hear the referee calling blue ball and then warning the other guys,
Advantage 10.
the Wiener Cats, to get away, and they didn't, and it's going to be a penalty. And here's a quick tap, and they're driving forward,
Go.
looking for more.
So we're going back here. That was a double move, but we have an advantage here. Not 10.
You heard the referee explain that. They
Penalty,
was
not
playing the
10.
advantage. In essence, the Screaming Minks were playing with house money. And they'll go back to where the infraction was initially, having not gained an advantage. Here's the tap. Here's the big fella Coakley charging
No, not
forward.
Back foot. Get on the back foot. Get on the line. Get it down.
And it's going to be a penalty try, Steve.
Not sure if that's. Is that what he's awarded?
I believe so. Everybody's pretty happy, and
I don't believe so.
was it
No.
just a try?
Just a try.
Okay.
Typically, the referee of
All right.
penalty try would be under the post, signaling that there would be no conversion.
You are correct. Here's our replay, except I guess he called it. Yeah, that was dotted down prior. Yeah, you're right. Because here comes Hallman, tee and ball in hand. Here's your replay, and there it is. Here's the. It's presented by Coakley. Let's see who gets it. I don't know if that was a. Did he touch that down?
And I have my doubts.
Yeah, I don't
Matthew.
I think they got lucky on that one,
I
Steve.
think they did. It seemed to squirm out of his grasp just before grounding it there. So I think you're correct. Eagle eyes, well done.
Sometimes they work. Here's Holman. If I'm not mistaken, Steve, he's just missed one of his conversions.
That's also correct. You're on fire right now.
And fuego.
On fuego, as
Yeah.
we Spanish-speaking Scotsmen say.
See. Right, Holman. Once he gets it on that tee, he goes right to work. And he just shanked that one a little bit, but he's had a good day otherwise. And his team is leading 43-3 in this Challenge Cup semifinal.
43-0.
43-0.
I believe.
Yeah, you are correct. And there's nowhere that it says 3 anywhere. So I don't know where that came from, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. It's nobody's fault but mine on that one. And we're going to check the score. If it's 43 or 42.
43.
It's 43. There's on his own, on his own was Brandon Lean taking that ball. And here's a counterattack from Fredrickson. Abdu Fredrickson charging forward and a whistle.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it was held there. I think that's the correct decision by the referee. And a penalty to Washington Lee. Unfortunate. Good carry. Spark of life. Good to see.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these kids, this is a big moment for them. They're on a national stream. You can watch this even globally on the NSCRO YouTube channel or the Next Level Rugby YouTube channel live. So it's, you know, this is a big deal. It's a small college thing, but it gets these schools and these players some exposure. We've seen some players that might now get on the radar of perhaps a bigger school, maybe a serious men's club, and then on a pathway to perhaps the Eagles or the MLR. Certainly Owen Kennedy last night, the big lad, 6'9". I believe he was from Christendom. Yes.
Keep moving.
In the meantime, this match in the blue and white, the Washington and Lee.
Get back! Get back!
Screaming Minx
23.
leading by a wide margin, 43-0 over the Minnesota State Moorhead Wiener Cats in red, gray, and black. And here's another attempt at the try line. This looks like Layden Winnetana.
No, short. Release.
Some more goal line defense attempts. There is an attempt by Durfee to get it in, and he does indeed touch it down, despite being jet-lagged flying in from Germany. There he is. He's going to be happy on his trip back to, Steve, how do you say, is it B-A-Y-R-E-U-T-H?
It's not Beirut.
No, it's
Let me
not.
tell you that. Beirut, home to a famous summer festival, I believe.
If it's festival, it's got Steve Lewis involved somehow. Here's Holman, who has been pretty darn good from the tee, trying to convert this one as well. He's missed but 2. His team leading 48-0 with about 56 minutes gone by in this semifinal Challenge Cup match. Matt McCarthy, Steve Lewis, and Brett Anker for Next Level Rugby's production of this NSCRO College Weekend here in the capital region of New York State, Albany area. And the conversion was good.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Grant.
Yeah, it's a famous Beirut musical festival. Well known for its Wagner operas, I believe.
Wagner. Yes, of course. There's number 12 taking it nicely. Harry McBride pitches it out off the restart. 50-0.
A little bit.
Got a half century of points just for one team. It's not a good sign if you're the opposition.
Tackle now. Good contest.
All right,
guys.
Steve. So, as a two-time Coach of the Year for USA Rugby and a Collegiate Sevens coach for the All-Americans, what are you looking for out of your team that's trailing
Guys, back
50
foot,
points
get
to
back,
nil?
back. Nope, lost it. That's fine. Good contest.
Well, the game's over as a contest, right? But every rugby player, it's one of the points of this particular sport. In rugby, you can't take your foot off the gas like you can in soccer, perhaps in basketball. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. So you have to compete. You have to compete from the first minute to the 80th minute. So these guys have their pride. It doesn't matter who you're playing, what level you're playing. You're on that field. Nobody likes to get beat. And you just got to keep sticking your tackles. You got to go focus on the next task. You know, don't think of the game. Don't think of the score. Next tackle, next scrum, next carry. Get that right. Small things can lead to bigger, better pictures. For instance, Molitor here, this kid, number 4 from Minnesota State, has been one of the few bright spots, to be honest. He's carried well, he's stuck in it, and he's still going in the 60th minute of the game, up against it into the teeth of a gale.
Why not kick for touch there?
One back.
Maybe you don't trust your lineup.
Guys, I need you back. Back.
All right, here is Coakley for the Screaming Minks, taking it to turf, digging it out as Lohman. Lohman's got his back line. There's a fake dummy. There's Moala. He gets it outside, a little dancing back and forth.
Good.
Turned over.
No. We're good.
I'm sorry, that was Apodaca.
Were we in touch first?
Yeah, I think Moala came on. He's done his cameo. He came on for, 20 minutes in the middle.
And gone off.
Sparked some points and is presumably taken off to be rested for what is definitely now Sunday's final for Washington and Lee. A final, they will be competing against the winners of the next game, the second semifinal here today, University of Wisconsin Stevens Point versus Azusa Pacific University from East Los Angeles.
There's your short line out. Right into the front, I should say. And here's number 21, Brennan Black, charging forward. Little ground ball pass, handled, cleaned up nicely. That's Madriaga. Psychology major.
No.
And it looks like it was turned over. It's going to be a penalty. I think he was offside, but there's a quick tap by Lohman. He was looking for more. He's got a wing. He's got number 12, McBride, with him, but he goes out to the wing, number 11, and that's going to be Kyle Hallman. I believe he is the brother of, I beg your pardon, that is Kyle Hallman with the try.
Yeah, quick tap penalty. Defenders not retreating didn't really matter. Good angled run, one-handed offload out the back to the winger. 5 more for Washington and Lee.
I'm sorry, that was not Kyle Hallman on that try. We're going to figure out who that is for you. I beg your pardon. But in the meantime, Kyle Hallman is lining up another conversion. That might have been Brian Moynihan. That's what I'm going with, Steve. Brian Moynihan is wearing number 11. He's 14 on our roster sheet, but that was not him because number 14 is our man who just kicked that conversion and it just sliced wide. So he's missed 3. But when you miss 3 conversions, it sounds like a lot, but not when you're kicking 100 in a match. That's an exaggeration, but his team is on top now.
I figured. But yeah, thank you.
I think that's 54, Steve?
55.
55. Nil. And there's Coakley, the big man, fielding the restart. Taken to the turf. 55-0 in favor of the Washington and Lee Screaming
Tackle.
Minx in blue and white over the Minnesota State Moorhead Wiener Cats. And they are playing the advantage. The Screaming Eagles, the Screaming Minx, I beg your pardon.
Stay here. Christian, real quick.
And here's going to be a warning.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's not just him. It's a lot of your guys.
Christian Larson, the captain, getting some instruction to avoid another penalty. Number 12, telling his men to stay back, stay on side.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. Time back on.
Now that you've done that, you can start creeping forward again, Steve, right? On defense?
Ain't cheating if you don't get caught. Unfortunately, they've been caught a few times now.
Yeah. Just play the ref.
Caught sufficiently to merit a warning.
Here's one of our rare kicks into touch today.
That's a good nudge.
You got a little bit of wind here. You can see the flags blowing, but we don't have any rain. We've got some gray clouds. They're ominous, but so far they're holding off. And it is field turf, so it shouldn't be a factor. It's a nice facility here. A nice, beautiful setting of Siena College.
A bucolic setting here.
Yes.
In the capital region, I believe they call it.
They do. They do. New York State, the Empire State, ladies and gentlemen. There's the line out, taken nicely by the Screaming Minx. A couple of hop passes. And bursting into the line is our big fella. That's Madriaga. Jordan Madriaga.
No hands,
and driving forward in that ruck. Picked it up on the back of it, but turned over nicely. Again, but there's a fight for the ball, and there's going to be hands on. Yeah, and that's going to be.
Yeah, he did a good job there. It was good body position. He was aggressive. He was going for it. Just he needs to stop using his paws.
Good.
All right, there's the referee saying it was good, and here's the big fella, number 1. That's Nate Havlaka.
A turnover was one. That came out dirty, off a foot.
You like the analysis there of the referee. It came off dirty off the foot.
Blue on the knock.
And there's a knock being played. Knock advantage being played right now. Oh, not to be denied so far is that's our man Madriaga bursting forward. The psychology major.
They're not the easiest numbers to see, this Washington Lee uniform
not.
on the back.
No, they're not.
Quite tricky.
Right, move. Get out of the way right now.
Maybe that's why they're scoring so many points. They don't know who to defend.
If you're seeing the number on the back, you're already chasing. You've already lost.
Exactly. There's McBride, gets it back out to one of his fellow backmates. Is it off the base of the scrum? Here's Coakley in space, trying to act like he's not in the way. Some more strong play. Here's Apodaca. He's had a good game. The fullback stays on his feet, avoids a high tackle. Takes it to turf. It's getting a little sloppy out there right now.
Yeah, a little lacking structure.
Here's number 18. I would believe that is.
Stay home. Stay home.
Vince Legsig. Legsring, I beg your pardon. And a penalty awarded to the Wiener Cats. And a player is down. We'll hope this isn't too serious.
All right, guys, go back 10. Yeah. Keep space.
Listening to the referee. Feet moving, that's always a good sign. Steve, we're going to have to start talking about our man of the match. Got about 12 minutes left in this one.
Yes, indeed. So Minnesota State Moorhead, to start with, they haven't had a lot of opportunities in attack, obviously, and they're in the receiving end of a fairly convincing scoreline. But I quite like the look of number 4, Tanner Molitor. I felt he, in a losing cause today, I thought he kept at it. I thought he carried the ball well. He made his tackles. He kept going. He would be my man of the match for Minnesota State. Moorhead.
Agreed.
That's it. Just agreed.
Agreed. I think you've said it all. He's been all over. His motor has been running the entire match. Despite the score, you wouldn't know that his team was down 55 points. Kudos to him, and he's a fine example for his teammates to follow. What's also good to see is that our injured player is getting up under his own volition. Get you that number if we can. Some applause from his teammates.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Nice to see.
He realized he's forgotten his mouth guard. He's okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to Washington and Lee.
Is there a penalty?
So,
So it's your penalty.
interesting one here. Obviously, fantastic cameo for Simi Moala when he came on, but a limited, certainly big impact for the 20-25 minutes he was on the field. I thought a good first half from Apodaca, the fullback, has carried the ball strongly. A couple of the big boys, the props, have had decent games. And McBride at centre also, some good footwork on occasion.
Well, we're going to have to narrow that down, Steve, to less than 15 to
Back
choose from.
foot, Blue. Back foot, 23 back.
And you forgot Lohman, and you forgot Hannes. But here's a big fella charging forward, number 1, Nate Flaka. He's had a good game. There's your man of the match from Minnesota Moorhead. That's number 4, Tanner Molitor,
Lost it. You good
charging
try, good
forward
try.
again. There's Masumbuko.
That's a maul. That's
Still
a maul.
firing away, still plugging,
Now it's
still
available.
swinging, still slugging it out. That's like you like to see from this Wiener Cats squad. There's some shrifty moves by
Lost
Maffness,
backwards,
but
that's fine, play on.
he gets it into the hands of number 20, Taylor Sorensen, who's off the bench. There's number 8, Abdu Fredrickson.
Get out.
And suddenly, maybe in the corner, they're going to get their first try if he can hold on to it. And he just looks like it was.
I'm not sure he grounded that.
I don't think he did. Yeah, it's going to be a knock on, and that's got to be frustrating for Jordan Head.
We've seen it a couple of times last night and today. The player just about to score, 2, 3, 4 yards out, and lose the ball in the act of scoring, either a defender knocking it out or failing to ground correctly. When you're 3, 4 yards out, you need to take care of the ball, cradle the ball, almost like running back style, dive. You can't be tackled when you're diving, and you ensure that 5 points is yours.
Agreed. Again, Steve. And we've got another substitution in. Jay Klein is now in for the Wiener Cats, number 22. He's in the front row.
It reminds me of a game, pro rugby, opening game, Denver against Ohio.
The Denver
When they-
Stampede versus
Yes,
the Ohio Aviators.
3 times over the line,
Hold it for
Ohio
guys.
failed to score, cost them the game, and Paul Barford, the head coach at the time, had them out next Monday practicing crossing the line, dropping
Yeah.
on the ball.
Well,
So it
4
happens
times.
at every level.
4 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that came back to haunt them because they lost the championship on points
Correct.
to that same Denver team.
We have, yep.
There you have it.
We have a knock on by Blue, then a knock on by
So
Red.
ball security, taking care of the ball, important the whole game through, and never more important than when you've created an opportunity and you're about to score.
And as timing would have it, you just heard the referee say knock on followed by a knock on.
So the heavy stuff wasn't supposed to be down for a while. Press box.
And we've got some rain coming down, Steve.
That's
You
right.
see the umbrellas popping up.
Come on,
Yep,
guys,
it's
come up with
been
Red.
threatening for a while.
There you go.
Temperature's been low, just making for sort of
All right, boys,
fairly
second, here we go.
squirrely conditions right now, I would suggest.
Crouch.
Are you suggesting that squirrels like cold rain?
Fine.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just checking.
Hold, guys, hold.
And there's a whistle. Doesn't like the way they're coming together.
Yeah, hit. Yeah, you're on the left.
This is a rugby match, not National Geographic.
Props. All right, guys. Yeah.
Then
Here we go.
again,
Crouch.
So here we go. Last 10 minutes of the game. Convincing thus far from Washington Lee. 55 points without reply from Minnesota State. Minnesota State, a rare foray here into enemy territory. They have a scrum, a promising attacking situation. Can they get on the board?
Get your head down. Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice to get something positive at least. You know, get into the try zone, cross the whitewash, get some points on the board. You never like getting blanked, especially in a championship scenario.
All right, guys, here we go.
But it's a great learning experience nonetheless, and all that they've done to get here
All right,
is
guys,
not
here we go.
taken away. See some smiles on the faces of the players from
Fine.
the Screaming Minx
Set.
in blue and white.
There, guys.
You've got the Moorhead, the Minnesota State Moorhead
Oh,
Wiener Cats in red, gray, and black. They are trailing by 55 points right now, and we are in our final 8 or so minutes of this match. This next level rugby production of NSCRO's Championship Weekend. National Small College Rugby Organization Championships here at Siena College, Hickey Field. Great facility. And a nice turnout of fans, despite what we had some gray skies and some rain.
Crouch.
What can euphemistically be described as some iffy weather?
Set. Here we go. It's available.
That's a sloppy scrum right there, but it's taken by the Wiener Cats looking to get across into the try zone for the first time today, but it is stolen. There's Callie. Ed Callie, he's had a solid match today, the open side flanker.
We never actually did have your vote on the man of the match for Washington and Lee.
Yeah, it's a tough choice. You know, you've had some big games. You've had, you know, that impact from Moala off the bench, but he wasn't on long enough for me to give him man of the match. I like Apodaca's performance. But the front row always catches my eye. You've had both props and your hooker. You know, Coakley, Hannes, and Durfee have had good matches. So
Yeah, you're fine.
I think I'm going to have to narrow it down, and I'm going to go with my big fella. I'm going to go with the tight head, Grant Coakley. But I might defer to your choice, Steve.
No, I'm happy with that.
All right.
Forwards need plaudits every now and again too.
You know, he won me over with that nifty little ballet type style
soft shoe shuffle.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. And he said he's been banging up front all day long. Not that his teammates haven't either, but here's his counterpart off the bench. That's Jake Klein getting in the mix. You like to see that. Number 8, Abdu Fredrickson corralling that pass. It was a little bit high, but he did well to hold on to it. Here's Joe Conrad.
All right, good.
Dishing it off to his teammate.
Good job.
That's number 12. That's Christian Larson.
No, that's fine.
Here's Jordan Head, heading for the try zone.
A goal.
Or so he hopes. Number 20, Taylor Sorensen helping out. And it's a penalty, not rolling away.
You're going to go fast, you got to go fast.
Yeah, that wasn't fast enough. Christian Larson held on a little bit too long there. Also, you've got number 23, Miles Stokes in there with the great hair. And skipping in almost is Masumboku.
What's that?
As a pass inadvertently thrown, but corralled nicely by Jacob Toft to hold on. Here's number 7 going on the outside. Trey Maffness gets a pass into the hands of Gavin Brooks-Samick, who's off the bench and into the try zone. So a little bit of celebration, some smiles at least.
Yeah, so perseverance there. They stuck with it. As we said before, if you're going to take the fast tap, go fast. But they retained possession, came out, pass from the flanker, and this one they did succeed in dotting down in that left-hand corner.
That's Brooks-Samick with the try. He just came into the match, and he gets into the try zone. He's got to be telling his teammates, hey, man, put me in the game more often. We'll get more points. So here is our first conversion attempt on the part of the Wiener Cats of Minnesota State University Moorhead. And it couldn't be a more difficult one, and it's not going to make it.
I'm accurate with that.
We've got about 5 minutes left, folks. We've got another match coming up, so don't go away. And our next match will be University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, Wisconsin RFU versus Azusa Pacific University out of the Gold Coast Conference. And that'll be coming up right after this. So after we break, make sure you stay with us. Come back on the NSCRO YouTube channel or the Next Level Rugby YouTube channel. And please share it with your friends. Tell everybody about it, because these players, these coaches, these colleges all deserve some attention. They're the National Small College Rugby Organization, NSCRO, but they're not small to us. And these players deserve the attention they're getting. And there's the restart directly into the hands of number 12, Christian Larson, who gets the ball out. And now, in the waning moments of this match, you've got the Wiener Cats showing some life, and you like to see that. And here's number 20, Taylor Sorensen,
Don't pick him up.
charging forward.
That's fine play on.
Joe Conrad gets it back out to Christian Larson. There's Lean, Brandon Lean, getting it into the hands of number 4, our man of the match for Minnesota State University, Tanner Molitor.
I've lost it. Yeah.
There's Toft, gets it out to Maffness,
We got a touch
who
call.
had an assist on their try just moments ago. And it's taken into touch.
So, yes, 55-5 here. The Wiener Cats. Difficult to say with a straight face.
Steve, how many times have we said Wiener Cats today with a straight face? I'd say quite often.
So they're 55-5 down in the waning moments here. They got a little bit of pride. Got a score on the scoreboard. They have another game tomorrow, however.
All right, that was a line out, and it's going to be a free kick awarded to the Wiener Cats.
All right.
Free kick, not a penalty. Free kick, not a penalty.
Referee explaining that's a free kick, not a penalty to the Minnesota State University Moorhead players.
The difference being, Matthew, what's the difference? Free kick, penalty.
Well, Steve, is it a philosophical question you're asking me?
That's a question of
Tell the
law.
folks at home, Steve.
Question of law. Now it's just what you can do with it.
Free kick and in front of the 22.
Okay, it's coming back nonetheless,
So, all right.
and it's going to be a line out. And it's going to be a line out to Washington and Lee, who are leading 55-5 with just about 3 minutes left in this match. We've got some rain coming down now. There's the line out. It's stolen. It's thrown directly into the hands of Jacob Toft, the outside center, who was the first one in the line out. Go figure.
Too high. 15.
A high tackle called and the penalty awarded. There's Larson with a quick tap into the hands of Nate Hovlaka, who's worked hard all game long. He's pushed by Jake Klein off the bench. There's Molitor. He drives forward. Stolen by Blue, though. Here's a counterattack. Oh, just a tough pass, not being able to handle.
Play the advantage.
And the advantage is being played. There's Lean. Masuboku. And a whistle.
Advantage did not come. There was originally a knock on by Blue.
Now you heard it from the referee. The advantage, nothing gained, so it's going to come back to the original place of the knock on by Blue.
Knock on by Blue, advantage knock.
And it'll be put in by Brandon Lean.
Yeah, clock is accurate, guys.
This could be the last play of the match, Steve.
All right, guys.
And we will follow that with
All right, second.
our man Brett Anker down on the pitch with players from both squads.
Here we go, guys. Crouch.
Let's see if we can get something. Maybe another
5.
try right before the game ends for the
Set.
Minnesota State Moorhead squad.
It's out.
There's Lean. Conrad. Toft. Back to Conrad. And he is going to be driven into touch, and that might do it. Indeed it does. 55-5 in favor of the Washington and Lee Screaming Minks over the Minnesota State Moorhead squad in the red, black, and gray. Assessment, Steve?
Yeah, pretty. Scoreline says it all, really. Pretty convincing, dominant win there by Washington Lee. Looked a cut above their adversaries today, who nonetheless competed manfully, stuck with it, and got a score late on to avoid, as you say, being blanked. Washington Lee will move forward to the Challenge Cup final now tomorrow against the winners of the next game. It looked like they still have some more powder in their keg, as it were. Moala was only on for 25 minutes. We haven't seen the best of this Washington Lee side yet, I don't think, but they will need to bring that tomorrow, obviously, for the final.
Yeah, indeed. And, the next matchup is going to be played in a little bit of weather as we await our man, Brett Anker, getting our on-the-pitch interviews.
Overhead. Way to play out there, guys.
You had a nice performance from the tee by Kyle Holman, who showed us some consistency.
It's just physics and biomechanics, right? That's all it is.
Is it? I wish I had majored in that when I was kicking in college instead of English. But here you go. We've got our man of the match trotting over there for the blue trident wearing Screaming Minks. That looks like Grant Coakley.
Well, it might look like a trident, but it's actually W and L.
Well, but they did say it was a trident, and it stands for Washington and Lee, the Generals. Interesting combination of generals there.
Not touching that one.
All right, we're just waiting for Brett Anker, who's on the pitch. He's got a couple of players that he's going to be interviewing. And that's right, Steve. We are we're witnessing some more umbrellas popping up as we go here. But folks, don't forget to tune in for the next one, which is going to be the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point versus Azusa Pacific University. That's coming up at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time on the NSCRO YouTube channel or the Next Level Rugby YouTube channel. And I think we're getting ready to throw down to Brett Anker on the pitch. Brett, go ahead. Down. Sorry, folks, we did not have Brett down there, but we are seeing if we can iron that out. But he's got a couple of players standing by if we have time for it. If not, again, we'll break and then come back.
Yeah, well, you were talking there about the weather, Matt. And it's as a coach, you say you can only control the controllables, right? So referee, the bounce of the ball, the weather, these are all things that are irrelevant. You can use them as excuses, but they're irrelevant and the same for both sides. So conditions deteriorating somewhat, but again, same for both sides. It's cold. It's getting a little bit rainy. Surface will be fine, but obviously handling the ball will be a little trickier.
Indeed. I don't think we're going to be able to looks like we are going to get those interviews down on the pitch. Here's our man, Brett Anker. We're just watching what's developing in front of us, folks, so we just stick with us for a second. And it looks like he's got Coakley standing by, and also, let's see. And we do have Brett. Brett, go ahead. Brett Anker on the pitch.
Thanks, Matt. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. I'm here with a couple players from Minnesota State Moorhead. So you guys, not the result you were looking for in this match, but how do you feel your team really demonstrated themselves on the game today?
We kept fighting till the end, no matter what the score was. We may have been down a lot, but our boys kept fighting till the end. I mean, it's evident we scored in the last 10 minutes. We kept pushing until the end, and we just kept fighting, Yeah. Nothing to hang your head on there.
So a lot of your team has never played rugby before coming to college. How does an experience like this at Nationals really help you guys as you propel forward and get ready for Sunday's match?
It's crazy, being here, not playing rugby last year. It's really good for the team, and it's a really good experience.
So you guys have a lot of players from all around the globe on your team that have never played rugby before and are kind of here. How has rugby created an atmosphere for you guys to really, build the community around your university?
The main thing is the university where we came from. It's diverse with people from different ethnicity and countries. So rugby brings us all together and forms a brotherhood, and it makes the community more interesting.
That's great. Thanks, guys, and I wish you guys good luck on Sunday. Matt, back to you.
Yeah, hey, Brandon, thank you. I'm sorry, Brett, thank you very much. I loved Brandon's combination there of the headband holding the mouthpiece there. That was very sharp. I'm going to try that in the future. But right now, folks, I think we are going to have Brett with, it looks like, Nate Coakley. Of Grant Coakley. I'm sorry, Grant Coakley with Brett Anker on the pitch. Go ahead, Brett.
Thanks, Matt. I am here with Grant Coakley, man of the match for Washington Elite University. So you guys were pretty in control of this game. How did you feel your team performed up to your standards, or you got stuff to improve upon?
I mean, you always have stuff to improve on. I mean, I thought we played really well and we kept the ball, but there's little things, knocking it on, playing a little loose at times, a little too fast. Just the usual kind of jitters for a match of this level and this caliber. But I think we settled down and we played to the level we were capable to play of.
You guys have been to a national playoffs
Yes.
4 or 5 years ago, but
Yeah.
you've never reached a final. How does it feel to make history for your university and make a national final and chance to take home a national championship?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, this is it's just a dream come true. We've been working for not just this year, but all the years building to this. And I think we've been really close before, and being able to have a chance to finish the deal is just an absolute dream come true.
So you have 2 days, quick turnaround for a game here. How do you prepare to play two games in 2 days, mentally and physically?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, we already put the work in. You got to be ready. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to be ready to run a marathon. But I think after this, it's just guys getting trained up. They have to get injuries taken care of, or just getting their head right. We'll go get a good team dinner and we'll bond and we'll have fun. We'll be right back out here tomorrow, ready to go again.
That's great, and good luck in your game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Back to you.
Grant, nice attempt at the handshake. Gotta like that. And we got to get you a raincoat, my friend Brett. But in the meantime, folks, we are out of time here. We're going to take a break, but come back on the NSCRO YouTube channel or the Next Level Rugby channel for more of the National Small College Rugby Organization Championships here at Siena University, Siena College, Hickey's Field. We'll be back